Yo, what's good, YouTube family? It's your boy Malik. Welcome to the Low Life YouTube channel. If you're new, hit that like and subscribe button for me. If you've been here before, I appreciate it if you just do the same thing. Today I got a personal one for y'all. It might be a little long, so just be prepared. But I want to speak on mental health, and specifically my mental health, and how I deal with my bipolar disorder. Now, a lot of you out there may not know that I have bipolar disorder. And honestly, for a minute, I didn't know I had it either. It's been a journey, kind of going through it, living with it. But I hope sharing my story will possibly help some of y'all out there who maybe deal with the same thing and just don't want to speak on it. Or just give y'all a little bit of knowledge of, how, it is dealing with mental health, during the bad times. So I'll bring it back to my first episode. You know what I mean? It was a stressful time. It happened in 2020, March of 2020. At the time, I didn't know it was an episode. Honestly, it took me about a year to realize that it was an episode, but I had just come off of having probably the worst year of my life. You know what I mean? I separated from a girl I was with all of high school who honestly meant the world to me. And on top of that, I was the reason that fucked up. So that pain was kind of lingering on me. And then my grandfather, the one person, or the one man, should I say, who I really respected in this life, the only man I would say who I really looked up to in this life, passed away, like literally right after my graduation party. And that like shot me in the chest. It did. And this year also was the year 2019, sorry, was the year that I started smoking heavy. Like literally after me and that ex had broke up, I started smoking heavy that night. And then when my grandfather passed, like it started being even worse. And so I ended up going to college at ODU, Old Dominion University in Virginia. And I was away from family. I really didn't have the ability to cope, to talk about everything that happened that year. I kind of just kept it inside. I just smoked it away. And I had good times at Old Dominion. Don't get me wrong. Like, I masked it pretty well, you know what I'm saying? But it wasn't until March of 2020 when COVID hit and we all had to go back home and we was quarantined that I had to really sit with my emotions. And I had to really think about everything. And it tore me apart, literally. And my episodes, they start off happy, you know what I'm saying? I have this big burst of energy. I have this happy-go-lucky, feeling to me. And then it just falls down after that. And so that's kind of how it started. I remember I was talking to a couple friends, doing kind of the craziest shit. Like, that's how I knew the episode started now, because I was just acting out in such a weird way. But yeah, the episode happened. I ended up moving out of my house, went to my aunt's house, and then I ended up moving to Florida for the summertime. I just kept running away. I kept running away from my mind. And it led me into a very, very dark place. Like, I remember that summer in Florida, I was in hell, you know what I'm saying? I mentally was delusional. I felt paranoid all the time. I couldn't really speak to my friends, to my family about what was going on, because honestly, I didn't understand what was going on. At the time, it felt like God was judging me for all the bad I did in my life. And that's honestly how every episode feels. It feels like a judgment. Like, all the things that go through my mind during that time is just the bad things that happened to my life. So at the time, that's how I saw it. So I started investing in the Bible, and and learning about God. And it kind of helped, but at the end of the day, it made it worse because I didn't really know anything about religion at the time. You know what I'm saying? I was just diving in head first because I was so delirious. And they say go to God, when your times are hard, and I guess that's what I did. But like I said, it just felt so off. I was in it for the wrong reasons. I was looking for a sign of help, and it felt like God wasn't speaking to me. But that's because I was in an episode. So long story short, I ended up moving back to New Jersey by the end of the summertime, and the feelings and emotions started to die off. However, I never went to the hospital. My dad was very big on me like dealing with it by myself, and this is prior to me even though I had bipolar disorder, and I thought I could deal with it, myself too, and I ended up doing it. And so I was good, still had the paranoia, still was depressed, but I was good for a little bit. I ended up working at Amazon, stacking my bread. I ended up going to Wawa and working, and that's where everything kind of fell apart again. During this time, I was smoking heavy. However, while I had bipolar, not while I had bipolar disorder, while I was in the episode, I couldn't smoke. The weed kind of just made the episode 10 times worse. So it wasn't until I had one bad night at Amazon and I was like, fuck this, I hate it, I smoked again. And I saw myself kind of go back in that depressive state. And this is a big reason why I want to stop smoking today, or why I stopped smoking today, is because it kind of puts me in a depressive state. And so I just remember my second episode, I was working at Wawa and I was just a gas attendant, I worked overnights. It wasn't much people that came around, so I would just take out the trash, chill in the little cubicle that they had. And I just remember one night I was crying, like at work. The episode hit me, like anxiety came. My episodes kind of come out of nowhere, but the anxiety came. I just started thinking about my granddad, thinking about how I fucked up with that ex, thinking about how I felt stuck in life, like I wasn't moving forward, and everything just kind of piled up. And next thing you know, I'm crying at work and time froze. I remember it was storming that day, and I was looking around, and next thing you know, I turn around and I see an ambulance. I'm like, why is the ambulance here? Next thing you know, I see my grandma to the left. I'm like, why is my grandma here? She's coming to me. She's like, Malik, are you okay? Are you okay? And at that moment, I didn't realize I was in an episode, but now I realized I was in an episode. And I was frozen. I ended up going to the hospital. My mom ended up coming to see me, and I was like a vegetable. I couldn't speak. I couldn't do anything. I was stuck in my own mind. And so, friends, that leads me to my first time in a hospital. Not a regular hospital, but a mental hospital. And on the real, I felt crazy. I felt like I wasn't myself. I felt like, nah, this can't be me. How am I in a mental hospital? Like, am I really, a crazy person? And it took me a while to realize, no, that's not the case. You have mental health problems. You have stress that hasn't been dealt with. You have anxiety over certain things in life. And so my first hospital visit, it was hell. Don't get me wrong. It was hell. Like, I hated the people in there. No offense to them, but like, I just hated being in there. You know what I mean? I felt like I didn't belong in there because, I never felt this emotion before. I didn't think I was crazy, but in reality, I wasn't crazy. I just, like I said, I had mental health issues. Sorry, there's a fucking plane going by, so if you hear that, I apologize. But nah, to run it quick. I ended up getting out of the hospital, and I remember feeling weird. Like, I felt like, okay, I'm free now, but what do I do? You know what I mean? Do I stop smoking and hope that, that was the only reason I was in there? Or do I keep doing the things I was doing and feel like, nah, nothing's wrong with me, I just had a bad night? And honestly, that's what I did. I thought nothing was wrong with me. I decided not to take the medicine that they gave me. I decided to keep smoking. I decided to just keep going on the path I was on before even going to the hospital. And long story short, the year didn't go by that well. I had great times. I was with my friends. I still was human. I had good times and bad times, but overall, I still didn't feel like myself. And it wasn't until I went back to college in 2022 that everything kind of made sense, you know what I'm saying? And made sense in the way of, nah, something actually is wrong. Because I ended up having another episode, my third episode, and hopefully my final episode. It was December of 2022. It was finals week, and This is my first time back in college in 2 years since I was at ODU. And literally, I remember writing my final paper for my composition class, and I just got too stressed. Like, I couldn't finish it. My computer was tweaking for some reason, and I just remember throwing my computer on the floor and just taking a walk outside. And one thing that happens when I'm in an episode is that, one, I start getting in my head a lot, but two, like, I try to run away from it. I try to work it out. And work it out meaning like actually physically working out. Like, I remember going to the fields at 12 o'clock midnight, at school, and just running sprints for like an hour straight. Like, I just ran sprints, hoping I could, work my mind out and get this stress out of my mind. And to be honest, it didn't work. I killed myself that night running them laps. And I walked home and I was still stressing. I was still in my head. And so, to let y'all know, since I wasn't taking my medicine, the bipolar disorder was really hitting. Since I didn't take my medicine, the bipolar disorder was really hitting. And at the time, I kept saying to myself, you don't have bipolar disorder, you're good. In reality, that wasn't the case. So what ended up happening was, the next day, I remember getting up and still feeling delirious, still feeling out of myself, like literally like I wasn't myself. I ended up going to the cafeteria on campus, and to be in the cafeteria, you need to have a key card. I didn't have my key card, but being that I was in an episode, I was like, fuck it, like, I don't need this. Like, I can go in there and eat without a key card, I'm fine. And all I remember is the lady yelling at me like, no, you gotta leave. And I remember, like, about 5 minutes later, the police pulled up and they escorted me out. And literally, it was so embarrassing, like, so embarrassing. But at the time, I was oblivious to it. I was just like, why the fuck are they here? I should be able to eat. Like, I was just out of my head. So I remember walking home, and I must have did something in the mirror. Something crazy. Because my roommates seen it and they thought it was concerning. And even when I walked in the house, like, they were all in the living room, and I didn't even say hi. Sorry, there's another plane coming, but yeah, they were all in the living room and I didn't even say hi. I kind of just looked at them in a mad way because I was angry at the time, and I just kept walking upstairs. And so, long story short, them niggas ended up calling public safety on me. So I woke up to two police officers, the same police officers that escorted me out of the cafeteria, knocking on my door and escorting me out, saying that you got to come with me. And so I was scared at the time. I was really, really scared. I was like, why the fuck am I going through this? And I remember leaving my house, and there was a white lady and my therapist now. I didn't know him at the time. He wasn't my therapist at the time, but he was right next to me, and they were asking me questions like, how are you? What's been going on? And honestly, I was so frozen, so stressed, so anxiety filled, so paranoid that I couldn't even answer the questions. I was in the episode. I was deep in the episode. And to give y'all another little quick note about my episodes, my mind goes off the deep end. Like, I think about all the worst times I've had in my life. I think about death. I think about just all these bad things, you know what I'm saying? And it really feels like a judgment. I don't know if I said this in the video already, but every episode feels like God's just judging me. God's looking at me and he's putting me in hell because of all the bad things I've done in my life, or just because I haven't dealt with the things in my life. And so, yeah, I just remember talking to them outside, and they ended up sending me to the hospital. I remember my mom came to see me, and like, I was so paranoid, so stuck in this episode that I couldn't even talk. I couldn't really recognize that was my mom. And that was the scariest part about it, is that, like, I couldn't even speak to my own mom. Like, my mental health was that bad. I was that down deep that I couldn't even get out of it. So they put me in a mental hospital, and this is my second time going to a mental hospital. And this time, I decided to make the most out of it. When I got there, my episode was still happening. I was still having, certain, I don't want to say visions, but certain things, going through my head that shouldn't have been going through my head, or that were caused by the episode. However, I chose to just like I did when I was at school working out. I did the same thing there. And being that while I was there, I was taking my medicine, it actually started to heal me after a while. The medicine and also the working out. Like the way I worked out, I got a pack of Uno cards, and like green was for push-ups, blue was for sit-ups, red was for squats, and yellow was for calf raises. And I literally every morning I woke up, I got them Uno cards. I did that as soon as I woke up. Midway after lunch, I got my Uno cards. I did that. Right before I went to go to sleep, I got my Uno cards. I did that. That little routine kind of kept my mind balanced on top of the medicine. It made me feel like, okay, you're working out of this. You're gonna break through. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have mental clarity. And by the time I left, I did have mental clarity. I felt like I was stronger mentally. However, I still was in a state of kind of shock that it happened. I was embarrassed that it happened. I was kind of scared to go back to school because I was worried that people would judge me, you know what I mean, for going through that. And I don't know if I said this in the video again. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of speaking off the dome. But the first time I went to the hospital and I got out, I believed I didn't have bipolar disorder, so I didn't take my medicine. You know what I'm saying? And that's probably what ended up getting me back in the hospital. But the second time I was like, nah, I need this medicine. I don't want to go back there. Like, even if I don't believe I have bipolar disorder, at this point in my life, I know I have bipolar disorder. But at the time, I was like, nah, like, I need this medicine. I don't want to go back to a mental hospital. And so I ended up leaving the hospital, and ever since, I've been taking my medicine on a daily. And I've been feeling good. You know what I'm saying? I've been feeling mentally clear. I haven't had an episode. It's been a whole year since, no, actually, it's almost been 2 years now since my last episode. And it feels great. It feels good to know that I'm not in a terrible state of mind. It feels good to know that my mental health has gotten a lot better. And before I end the video, because this video is quite long, and I'm sorry if, y'all listen to this and it's a little bit kind of like dry, but I'm just trying to give y'all my story and hopefully let y'all know that y'all not alone if you're dealing with mental health problems, and let y'all know that, you really don't know what people are going through. And that's why it's best to check up on your friends, because everybody goes through something. Everybody's facing their own personal battle. You know what I'm saying? But I would say one thing that really affected my mental health that I didn't realize was me smoking weed every day. You know what I mean? That's why this no weed journey is so big for me, because I know it's affecting my mental health in a positive way. Every time I would smoke weed, I would get down on myself. And mind you, I would smoke weed every day, so I would be depressed, mentally, and I would be around my friends and that cool, which I would be having a good time, don't get me wrong, but every time I would be by myself, those thoughts of the past would come back to haunt me. You know what I mean? Everything would feel just bad, you know what I'm saying? And that bad self-talk will come on. I'll be like, man, you're not doing enough. Why are you smoking this weed? You a bitch. You know what I mean? And I would still smoke the weed because I just didn't know how to, cope. I didn't. And mind you, I'm on this no weed journey now, and I just began, and I already feel a lot more clearer than I ever been. I have clarity now. I feel like I realize why I've mentally been so down, and it's because of this plant. You know what I'm saying? And mind you, the bipolar disorder, I have my problems with that too and shit like that, but I would say the weed kind of just heightened it. It made it worse. And so, yeah, ever since I left the hospital, I vowed that I would never go back. I made sure that I'm gonna take my medicine. I made sure that I would focus on my mental health for the better, you know what I mean, and keep myself in check and speak to people when I need to. And so honestly, y'all, this is where I'm gonna end it. You know what I mean? I want y'all to know that if you have mental health problems, you gotta talk to people. You gotta do the things you need to do in order to get out of that slump, in order to get back on track. And so people, my family, my YouTube family, I want y'all to know that no matter what, you always have somebody to talk to. And you know why? It's because you can always hit me up. I want to be a person to help people when they're going through bad things, because I know when I was going through bad things, I needed people. And I also want y'all to know that y'all can talk to God. Y'all can speak to God about anything and hope, and pray that things will get better, because they will. So my friends, if you're dealing with mental health, whether good or bad, just make sure that you actually pay attention to it. Don't overlook it. Don't think that, nah, I'll be fine. Nah, actually be curious about why you're feeling the way you're feeling. You know what I'm saying? Take it seriously. Fix it. And if you can't fix it quick, that's okay. Sometimes it takes time. But all I want y'all to know is that I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And no matter what, you always got somebody to talk to. Mental health's a bitch. It is. But we all gonna deal with it together. I promise y'all that. So low life family, until next time, I'm out.